Good morning.
It is.
So I find myself in a transitionary period where I am recreating my relationships. And at its basis, the subject of my question this morning is divorce. When approaching the subject, how can I remain aligned with myself and not get jerked out of the vision that I have?
Well, it's a pretty big subject. Divorce is the byproduct of a tremendous amount of momentum. So the question that we're hearing is, how can I slow a momentum that's moving very quickly so that I can manage my vibration within it? And the thing about a decision that you make, such as that, is there is usually a justifying of the decision that is increasing the momentum. In other words, you're getting more and more specific. By the time someone's deciding to divorce, you've garnered quite a bit of momentum about what it is about this relationship that is not pleasing to you. And so those two things don't go together. You can't garner momentum about things that don't please you and stay in alignment with who you are. They don't go together.
Unless I have a succinct vision of what it is that I'm trying to create.
Well, that certainly is necessary, and you could soften yourself by acknowledging, well, I'm on my way to who I really am and what I really want. But the important thing that we really want to say in a way that you just take it completely in is that every single moment that you spend justifying doing one thing prevents the thing you really want. In other words, you've asked the perfect question. You said, how can I get something I want in the midst of pushing hard against something I don't want? Because the very word divorce says, what's the definition of it? I'm removing myself physically from this relationship, which isn't true because all relationships are eternal. So the first thing we would do is cut that word out of vocabulary and begin talking about this eternal relationship in the way that you mean it. Abraham, I have a relationship that is in a constant process of modification. And
I'm in a constant process of modification where the clarity that has come forth over the last few months has succinctly driven me to be clearly aware of communication.
Let us give you something here quickly. You're going to like this. So
I'm sure I will.
So when you set aside any manifestation or decision, in other words, a divorce is like a physical manifestation. So when you set aside, just for a little while, the action part of it, and you just focus on the energy part of it,
right,
what you begin to discover is that if your singular intention, if someone says to you, how are you doing? You say, really good. I'm on the high flying disc. And they say, maybe they understand it, and they say, well, what are you doing there? Well, I'm just flying high on this high flying disc. Well, what's being on the high flying disc like? Well, I just feel really good when I'm here. Well, how do you know you are there? Because I feel really good and I have a lot of clarity, and things just open more easily for me. So as you've played this game of being on this high flying disc, sometimes after a period of time of being there, something that you've been observing around you that didn't seem so off suddenly appears to be more off, because the more consistently you are on your high-flying disc, the more clarity you have about what's on or not on your high-flying disc. So then from this clarity comes a decision. And when the decision comes, and it's not gut-wrenching, when the decision comes and you just know the rightness of it, when the decision comes and it just feels completely right, when the decision comes and you don't even care about where it came from, you just feel the rightness of the decision, then that means you've accomplished what you were saying you want to accomplish. You're on the high-flying disc, you're in alignment, and the decision about what to do about everything is very clear to you. So we would say to you, and it feels to us like you're there or close to being there, we'd say to all of you that when you find yourself making a decision that much of the world would judge you harshly about, or that you even formerly would have judged yourself harshly about, and you don't feel uncomfortable in the decision, it means you've found alignment. And since your split energy is the only thing that ever messes up your life experience, then you're in a good place, you see. So it's about, and it's hard even for an evolved room of teachers like this to hear something like that. When you make a decision that affects others, seemingly from such a selfish point of view, where you care so much about your alignment, because there are a lot of people, in fact most people, who put up with things unwanted and sacrifice their alignment. Now, we have something else important to say. You're going to like this too. Not as much, but you're going to like this too. What you do or don't do isn't what this discussion is about.
Right.
How you feel is what this discussion is about.
Exactly.
And when you care about how you feel enough to really do the work, which is reach for the thoughts that feel best no matter what, reach for the thoughts that feel best no matter what, and consistently get that momentum going, then universal forces just accommodate. They just accommodate. We want you to, all of you, to just for a little while, try to leave the response of other people out of your equation. Because, and this is the easiest way to explain this, let's say that you're on a high-flying disc and that someone that you would like to understand you isn't. And maybe they're not on a low-flying disc, maybe they're just on a medium-flying disc, but they're not flying high like you are, consistently like you are. And they, the best words are, don't get you. They don't get you. And you don't get them. But their family or their friends or their someone who expects conversation from you and you from them. And so you spend, talking to all of you, an inordinate amount of time trying to get other people to get you, trying to explain your point of view to those who are in vibrational frequencies who cannot get you. And in the process, you squander any possibility that you have of flying high enough to connect with the energy that will ever help you to be the creator of the world that you want to create. It's sort of like mucking around in lower vibrations just because that's what everybody does. Trying to explain things because that's what everybody does. Trying to be understood because it would just be a terrible thing if I was misunderstood. Trying to explain it in a way that someone can get it. And in the process, sacrificing your high-flying disc and then not feeling good. And then that being the reason that you don't feel good, not the other thing. It's not about what you were doing that made you not feel good. It's about trying to explain it to someone who took you to a different vibrational frequency. This conversation must feel very selfish to all of you. And it is even a little worrisome to some of you because you have been controlling one another through negative emotion for a very long period of time. If you do that, I'll feel bad. And if you'll do that, then I'll feel better. So you should do what makes me feel good and never mind what's important to you. And that's sort of the basis of most relationships, and those relationships are not thriving. The momentum of relationships like that usually ends up in some sort of a rupture. But if you can bring yourself to, just for a little while, be selfish enough to care about waking up on that high-flying disc, and you are doing what you can do to maintain your vibrational frequency there, every relationship that you have will improve to the point that it would not occur to you that you would need to do anything different in order to feel better. And that's the part that we really want you to hear. While often you get on your high-flying disc and you're inspired to things that other people don't like, that's the way it goes often. But often you get on your high-flying disc and now you're so in alignment with who you really are that the details of your life are not so important. In some ways it's like, I need to do this so that I will feel better. You just have to find your way in it. We told the story a few weeks ago about Esther having an all-important snag on her fingernail. Got it caught in her hair, and it got it caught on her fleece robe, and snagged her hose. And in a period of about 2 minutes, the snag on her nail gave her a lot of grief, until she had the wisdom to deal with the snagger. So she took out her file and she dealt with the snagger. And so often, this is what we're encouraging you to do with your awareness of your thoughts. We're encouraging you to deal with the snagger, you see. And the snagger isn't somebody else. The snagger is you. The snagger is your own vibrational frequencies. And so what we always say to everyone, no matter what they think they're on the brink, we should say that in a kinder way, no matter what they are on the brink of doing with their life, and they certainly have the right to do it, just deal with the snagger first. Get into alignment. Just step back from the action. Just step back from what you think you need to do. And just align for just a little while with such consistency, such transformative consistency. And then follow the next impulse. So here's what we really want to say to you. Find 30 days of alignment, high-flying alignment that you can really acknowledge that you've been 30 days of really flying high. It might take you 60 days to get to the 30-day point of really flying high. And then, because the first 30 days you didn't make it through breakfast or something. But once you are saying to yourself, I'm flying high and I know it. I'm flying high and I know it. Now, follow the impulse. Because we've never known anyone, and we've known everyone. We've never known anyone who made that decision from a high-flying disc. Not one time ever. Doesn't mean they didn't make the decision and then later on get on a high-flying disc. Doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing to do. We're just saying, from what you know, do you want to follow forward with any action? Follow forward. Isn't that an interesting combination of words? Follow through, moving forward. Follow through, moving forward. Do you really want to follow through, moving forward with anything less than a high-flying disc?
Hell no.
We've been saying to everyone, here they are, affirmation cards. On the high-flying disc, sweet music to your ears. I'll tell my story the way I want it to be. Whatever I desire, I can acquire. But if you're not on the high-flying disc, this stuff sucks. It's written from a high-flying disc. To understand it, you got to be on a high-flying disc. Do all of your affirming from a high-flying disc. Make all of your decisions from a high-flying disc. Let all of your action be inspired from the high-flying disc, you see. Because you can justify anything. Law of attraction will validate everything you feel, no matter what disc you're on, by giving you demonstrations. You can make anything true. We just wouldn't make anything true from less than the high-flying disc.